you had to stop working today, no more paychecks, no more 9 to 5, just you and whatever you've got saved up, how long would you last before you start having instant ramen as your retirement survival plan? And if that question made you a little nervous, trust me, you're not alone. And most people have no clue how much they actually need to retire or retire early. So, for starters, I love this one. And you've got Poverty Fire, which is like living on $15,000 a year, meaning you need about $375,000 invested using the 4% withdrawal rate. That's around $36,000 a year. And that means you got to have around $900,000 invested using the 4% withdrawal rate, and you're still living very frugally. Then you got the, let's call it just the traditional fire at $75,000 a year, which requires about $1.875 million invested. And this is where you start to feel a bit more comfortable. Now, with Chubby Fire, it's $155,000 a year, which means you need to have about $3.875 million invested, assuming that you're doing the 4% withdrawal rate. And with this amount, you've got breathing room here, and you get to have some travel, a nice car, and dinners that don't involve looking at the right side of the menu, right? And as for Fat Fire, this is $215,000 a year at a minimum, and which is $5.375 million invested. And at this point, you're basically living like a retired CEO with private club memberships, luxury vacations, and never worrying about the price of gas again. Let me remind you that these are just averages from the 2024 Census Bureau, because you have your own story to tell. However, when it comes to calculating your fire number, you have to focus on your expenses, not your income, but your annual expenses. First, you need to calculate your annual expenses, and you can do this by breaking them down into non-discretionary and discretionary expenses. So they're the basic stuff you have to pay for. You have to prioritize them by groceries, housing, utilities, transportation, basic insurance, communication, clothes, your vehicle, and those essential annual subscriptions. So if you spend $10,000 a year on groceries, and if you multiply that by 25, you're gonna need at least $250,000 invested to be financially independent with only your groceries using the 4% withdrawal rate, which means that you can technically have your groceries paid by your investments and not by your 9 to 5 job. Let's say your total annual expenses are $100,000 a year, and multiply that by 25 and you get $2.5 million, which is your base fire number.